Hello, this is Toby from Toby's Urban Sketch, and today we are going to draw a Christmas tree because number one, it's nearly Christmas. It's the 1st of December and it's time to put up our Christmas tree, or at least it is in our house. And number two, they're fun. They're a pretty cool illustration you can do. Great thing to do in a Christmas card or something like that. There isn't a reference today, I'm afraid. We're just gonna play with shapes and colours and come up with something hopefully quite fun. This is an A4 sketchbook, and what I'm going to do today is just mark out a nice frame that we can use, and that will be where our Christmas tree goes. Now I'm just going to go straight in with the pen and just hopefully talk through what I'm doing as we go. So I'm going to start at the base of a Christmas tree, and when we think about Christmas tree, we often think about a nice little pot, so we can sketch that in. I'm using a fine line to start with because we can go over loads of these lines. We can change them if we want, and all we're going to do is just think about the shape. So Christmas tree, normal shape is sort of like that. I think we can all agree. We don't even need to include the stem though, because what we can do is bring leaf-like shapes all the way down the bottom here and just get this idea going out of a sort of bushy thing, just going up and up, and all we're doing is just getting this triangle shape really loosely in. And they tend to sort of, at the top, they just peak like that, don't they? They just have a little sharp bit at the top, so that can go even higher. And already I'd say it's a Christmas tree. If you just showed that to someone in December, they'd go, "You've drawn a Christmas tree." And at the top, what do we have? We've got a little star, so we can just get in just a little sort of X, shows our star off. Now what else do Christmas trees have? They've got candles or lights or baubles. So baubles are easy, right? A circle, they might have a little top, they might have shapes on them, so we just get some of these shapes in. So just space them out nicely, and this shows us where to leave, you know, when we add the colour or if we add more lines. We're just not going to have colour in these areas, are we? Some of them will be at the edge, of course, some of them will be closer, so they'll be a bit bigger, some of them will be sort of hidden, so you just get half of one and then some green. Might be one, you know, you get them quite near the top, don't you? That's probably enough. We don't want to go, well, let's do one more in here and down there. Don't want too many, otherwise it starts to get a bit crazy. Then you've got lights. So what do lights look like? They're often like little teardrop shapes with wire. So how are we going to get those in? Well, let's just get a few going off the edge of branches, and then, you know, they'll come in little clusters as well, don't they? So there's a couple of here, there's one there, again just at the ends of branches and things, some clusters, there's another one. They'll be in all sort of angles as well because they're attached to a little string. And maybe there's our last one. So we've got a few little lights spread out as well. What else do you have? You can have like candy canes in there. You can have bows. You can have little birds and things like that. So just birds like a circle with a little circle on top. Put anything you want in there. Let's keep it simple and just put maybe some little candy canes dotted around. So you might not see the whole candy cane because some of it's going to be covered by green, so you can just have bits like sticking out. And then what else is important about Christmas trees? Well, we often got presents or toys and things at the front, don't we? So what can we pop here? We could pop a teddy bear. So teddy bear is a circle with an oblong and some feet. It looks alright, doesn't it? So let's go with that. There's our circle. Got a big nose as well. You got sort of oblong, the feet coming towards us, little cylindrical arms. And of course you always see their eyes, don't you? So there's a teddy bear, that's nice and easy. He's probably got some presents next to him. They're just cubes, of course, but they've got normally a bit of ribbon on them. Pop another here. Maybe there's another little teddy bear in the background. Again, just little shapes, whatever you want to draw. You could have, instead of doing it around the edge like this, you could have a little scrap paper off to one side where you're just testing shapes out. Pop a little toy train in, that'd be fun if we pop a little toy train maybe just at the side, because we've got a little gap here, haven't we? So what's a train? It's a square, then a rectangle, it's got a little like steam pipe, normally a window in this bit, and then it obviously got some wheels which are normally joined like that. Then it's got a little bit of coal on the back or something like that. So again, I think that works. So let's pop that in here. Starting at the back now, kind of just placing it in the right place. I seem to have turned it on its side as well. That's fine. And giving it a little chimney. Seems to make sense. Maybe the chimney's supposed to be here, I don't know, but I think it looks alright. And then get these wheels. I'm going to make the wheels a bit bigger. The wheels are normally a big feature, aren't they, of a steam train. Get another couple of wheels, make this a bit longer. So there we go, there's a little steam train which can be on a little set of tracks. Maybe it's going off over here. And it's always good to have a little horizon line in, so if we just pop the edge of the rim in there. So we've got basically everything in. How else can we make this interesting though? Well, we're short of a few branches and leaves, so if we just start to get lots of little shapes in here, you know what a leaf looks like, and just drawing in these little rough patterns, just filling up the space, and then perhaps we need to bring out some of the baubles and things. And where we've made gaps, we need to just make sure that we're covering those gaps with some leaves. There's a bauble, there's another bauble. So there we go. All we've got, shape, random little lines. We've got some fun little baubles and things in there. And let's see what we can do with the colour. So I've got my normal palette with a chromium green in, but I've got a couple of other greens as well. And I'm going to start actually with probably the chromium green. It may be that this is all we need. Sorry, it's not chromium, it's cascade green. And I'm going to get a little bit of a yellow. And then we can just gradually mix them until we get slightly lighter green. All right. So with this quite loose layer, I just want to outline much of the tree. And we want to keep our baubles and our lights, if we can, clear of our green pigment. So everywhere we think we've got a little ornament or something we've already drawn in, we just try and avoid at the moment. If we feel that there's too much green, we can leave somewhere else blank as well, of course, and can always come back and draw in a couple more lines to add some more baubles or ornaments, whatever we want. And as we get further and further down, the green will naturally get deeper because there's less light getting through the thick part of the tree. So we can start to just take a bit more pure green and get that in there. A few little dots of green just out to the side, show that there's sort of random leaves going. Okay. And then if we just clean our brush off properly, get some red and a little bit of a brown, whichever brown you have in your palette, just to deepen that red. So this for me, that's a Scarlet Lake, which is very bright red. And I'm just gonna get our sort of pot. No, pot's always red, isn't it? Get that colour in. And then, while it's just drying, I'm going to take a different brush. This time I've got a little flat brush and take some much darker green and just start getting loads of variation in this tree. Lights and darks, and the idea of little leaf shapes and things like that can be sort of coming out now. Just by holding the pad at a slight angle as well, we let the colours move and mingle, which is always useful for getting interesting mixes. We're doing this all while it's wet so that we don't have lots of hard lines, we just got lots of variations as the wash moves together. And as we go higher up, we want the dark green to be more and more just focused in the middle of the tree, because there'll be a lot of light shining through the thin leaves at the edge. Alright, so the tree is now going to let itself dry, and we can start adding in some foreground colours. So we don't need much of the base here, but perhaps if we get a bit of a purpley colour, that will make a nice shadow. Shadows always ground things, and that enables us just to take it to the horizon line, and it shows that we're in a room, not I suppose some kind of void, which isn't where you want to be in Christmas, is it? And then we can start adding colours to our little toys. So trains are red. They're not always red, I suppose. They can also be a nice green, can't they? Or black sometimes, but this is a toy train. So a toy train's going to be red and yellow. Some of these yellows can get dotted in as well, like that. And just get that nice chimney yellow as well. Now bear, of course, he's a normal bear, so he's going to be brown. Oh, just being really loose with my colours here. Not worrying too much about cleaning my brush and things. This is a sort of quaint doodle. So that was a lunar earth, which is a bit like a burnt sienna. And let's get a bit of burnt umber in as well, because that lets us just create some easy shadows. That means you can say, I've done the ears a bit darker, under the nose and around the neck a bit darker, and the end of the feet darker, and then you can just immediately see we've got a couple of things going on. There's no blues yet, so just to keep the sort of primary colour feel of this, these presents can be blue. The colours are going to mix as well, which is fine. So there's a nice blue present there. I'm going to make them both blue just for simplicity. And while we've got this out, we need to start getting a few colours on the tree. So I've got a smaller brush now, smaller round brush. With this blue, I think there's too much water there. We need a fairly light pigment, but not too much water, because we want to be quite precise about where we pop our colours. And we're just finding anywhere we think we popped a light, or that a light might want to go now that we've finished it. We're popping a bit of pigment on there. And we get some blue lights, and maybe some orange lights. I think that was a light. There's a light there as well. And down here we'll pop a new light. And here. You can see now that we've done it, you can just find areas that you think when you had the pen out you weren't sure, and now you're like, well, actually adding something there will look good. And we can do that. And some yellow lights as well. And where else? We've got one here. And then of course when you start doing this, you might find that you missed a couple. So here's a blue one that we need. And then the candy canes, they're going to be red. And they don't need to be all red, because remember they're sort of striped. Well, classically they're striped, aren't they? So we can just... There's a few more than that, I just can't find them. Oh, here's another. So you're just sort of getting random splodges of red in on them. I think maybe we should just pop one on here. And if you use quite intense pigment like this, you can easily paint over other areas. Okay. And that leaves us a couple of things. We've got the star at the top. So if we just get star-like shape in there, drop a little bit of orange in the middle as well. Oh, I keep painting the side of my thing. Lucky this is a sketchbook. There you go. I think a couple of splashes will be effective as well. And then our baubles, of course. So we've got lots of red and things going on. What we could try is a more sort of, this is a magenta. Yeah, that's a nice extra colour to have in. Sort of want to not quite fill them in, because baubles always have a lot of reflections. You want to get that idea of a bit of light coming off them by just leaving them to reflect somewhat. And then if we just get a nice mix of these colours, we can start popping some shadows in a few places. So that's all the reds and blues together, just to make a shadow colour for our pot and also for parts of our train. And then we can get a bit of a brighter yellow, and just going to take away some of the water again, get more yellow and just reinforce the yellows in places. Okay, what else can we do? Well, if we just get some splashes in, just to increase the sort of randomness of the tree. And get a bit of these yellows again, and just around the edges, gives you another impression of lights. And I think the same with our red as well. It's a nice colour to splish and splosh around. Then I might just take back some of these, just a little. If we'd wanted to be careful, you can put a sheet of paper. And I'm going to let that dry and then just see if there's anything extra we need to do. Alright, so we are very almost there, I think. I'm going to hold off any extra colours for now, and I'm going to go back in with a very bold pen. I'm just going to get some more just outlines remarked. Just giving us a tiny bit more shape in some of our sort of key things, and it can also get some darks in just using the pen. We sort of just sketched in earlier some shapes and added a bit of colour, and that added more shape and interest. So you can see now, just by adding lines where the colours have actually changed, you can really make something look quite a lot more interesting. So it could do the same with teddy bear. Just where the shapes are resolved a bit, we can add features and add lines, add contrast. Just make everything a bit more 3D. So I hope you agree so far. We've just done the bottom here, and that I think it's quite effective. So let's keep going. Get this horizon line in more boldly as well. There's another teddy bear in here we've got to colour, but having these sort of negative spaces are quite nice as well. So I'm not going to worry about going back and adding colour. The same with these sort of bows and ribbons on the presents. Don't need to go back and add colour by any means. And now just going to resolve first the outline of the tree a bit more, and then we'll decide whether it needs more lines in the middle. So just going around carefully using the shapes of the colour to see if we, adding a bit of pen and seeing the effect, and then taking a step back, or a figurative step back, and going again and adding a bit more pen. We can resolve these lights a bit more, especially where we've had just random splashes and things. Just always step back and then move around the image a bit so you don't overdo it anywhere. And you can see when you got a nice bright shape and you give it a bold outline, it's suddenly sort of definitely there. It's just comes to the forefront a lot. So like with these lights, if you just contrast these bright primary colours with a dark outline, they become really obvious. They become much more of a feature. Remember, this is all just playing. There's no reference, so we don't have to worry about getting it wrong. We have to worry a little bit about whether we end up overdoing it. So we need to be really careful about that. The way to avoid overdoing it is just to take it bit by bit. Just sort of stepping back. And so I'm now thinking here and here look a bit bland. So just adding some sort of marks to give shape. And all I'm doing, if we look at this tree, the kind of marks I'm adding are ones which point out from the middle and give these random leaf-like shapes, if that makes sense. Well, even if it doesn't, that's what I'm trying to do. And we'll just do a tiny bit in this star, just like that. I think that's done. I think I'm actually rather pleased with that. So, a proper signature in a fun place. And that is my little Christmas tree illustration. All we did, we practiced little shapes. So we got the triangle, we got the branches, circles with little tops, teardrop shapes. We just practiced them off to one side, even a teddy bear, even a train. And then by just working out the shapes, we can pop them in, add a little colour, splashes, and we get a really fun, quaint image. And you know, if I'd done that on a card, I'd be more than happy to give that to any of my relatives at the very least. I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you did, please let me know. And feel free to share any images you like with me on Instagram. Leave a comment, whatever here. And anyone who likes or subscribes is hugely welcomed into the fold, and it's a huge support to my little channel as well. Thank you very much for watching.